So, how we doing, family? It's your boy, Yo, and this is another episode of YoHoops. I go through every NBA game every day. Today's Friday, March 27th. We have a 10-game NBA card. I'm going to walk you through my thoughts and let you know which sides I like, so please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your favorite game in the comment section below. Without further ado, let me get into today's games. Recap of yesterday. Not great. I went 1-2 on the 3-game card. Shout out to the Hornets for at least getting that one done, but the other 2 games had me shocked. The Pistons are rolling no problem without Cade, then DeRozan pops out with 33 just to lose the game. I watched it and they were trying to feed him on every play. That's how it goes sometimes, but regardless, I'll always be one of the few that does recaps and keeps it 100% transparent. I'm confident we'll end up winning in the long run. You saw what we did last month, and we're still basically 500 in March. I'm now 96 and 98 on every game played this month. Let's see if we can stack some wins and get right back in that win column tonight. In our first matchup of the evening, we have the LA Clippers in Indiana taking on Indiana Pacers. Clippers are minus 400 on the money line, and the total is 238.5. The Pacers came through for us in that last game against the Lakers, got the cover, but let's not forget they were down by 20 plus, and the Lakers really gave up down the stretch. I expect the Clippers to be locked in since they're hanging on to the 8th seed in the West. The way the play-in works, you definitely want to be in the 7th or 8th seed. Kawhi, Garland, and Mathurin are all playing. Even with Siakam back, I don't see the Pacers having an answer or finding a backdoor cover. It's also a revenge game for Mathurin, so something to keep in mind. I see the Clips getting it done. I'm taking the Clippers and the 9 as my first selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Atlanta Hawks in Boston taking out Boston Celtics. Celtics are minus 200 on the money line, and the total is 225.5. I was a little surprised to see the Hawks as this short of dogs here, but it made sense when I looked at the injury report. Jaylen Brown is ruled out, then Neemias Queta is listed as questionable. I'm already skeptical of Jason Tatum leading their offense this soon after returning from injury, but the Hawks have also played the better basketball over the last month or so. They come into this one winning 14 of their last 15 games, 1 loss. The team's full of young talent, and with the trade, they've now got the veterans that can help them close games down the stretch. At full strength, it would be more of a debate, but without JB, I have to roll with Atlanta. I'm taking the Hawks plus a 4.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Miami Heat in Cleveland taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cavs are minus 220 on the money line, and the total is 243. We saw this exact same matchup on Wednesday, and the Heat won that one 120-103. It would be one thing if the Cavs just played a bad game, but when I look at the box score, there's not much that they can improve on. Donovan Mitchell shot 12 for 22, James Harden almost had a triple-double, and they still lose it by 20. Now I'm supposed to lay points? I do see the Cavs as the more talented team, but obviously that isn't enough. They just got blown out in this same spot. I'm going to take the Heat plus a 5.5 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Chicago Bulls in Oklahoma City taking on Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder minus 3,300 on the money line, and the total is 239. I know they let us down in that last game against the Celtics, but the Thunder are definitely putting belt to ass tonight. They're back home at full strength, and they're only 2 games ahead of the Spurs, so they definitely want to secure the number 1 seed. The Bulls are sitting a lot of guys, and they basically don't have a center tonight. I think they pack this one up by halftime. I'm taking the Thunder laying the 19.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Houston Rockets in Memphis taking on Memphis Grizzlies. Rockets are minus 850 on the money line, and the total is 227.5. I'd be shocked if the Rockets didn't win this game by margin. The Grizzlies now have Ty Jerome and Jalen Wells ruled out, so it's basically Walter Clayton and Cedric Howard against the Rockets at full strength. Houston is in a delicate spot at 6th in the West, and we only have about 10 games left. This is one of those easily winnable spots. They should run these boys out of their own gym. The Grizzlies have lost their last 3 games by more than 20 points. It looks like they're calling it a wrap. I'm taking the Rockets in the 13 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the New Orleans Pelicans in Toronto taking on the Toronto Raptors. Raptors are minus 370 on the money line, and the total is 228. The Pelicans committed this one on the second leg of a back-to-back, flying from Detroit to Toronto. I was a little bit surprised to see them as this big of underdogs, but it made sense when I saw DeJounte Murray and Trey Murphy are both ruled out. We're back to the banged up Pels. I don't know if I want to be a part of it. Rather than taking a side, I'm looking at the total. I always mention Toronto lacks a true point guard, and tonight, Emmanuel Quickley is ruled out. When you've got guys like Brandon Ingram and RJ Barrett handling the ball, the pace goes way down. On the other end, they have a top 10 defense, and we know the Pels are on tired legs with travel. We should see a lot of missed shots and ultimately stay under this total. I'm taking the Pelicans and Raptors under 228 as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Utah Jazz in Denver taking on Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are minus 2,200 on the money line, and the total is 248.5. I was looking at the under in that last game, but I'm looking in the exact opposite direction in this one. I've been watching the Nuggets last few games. These boys play zero defense. 142 to 135 against the Mavs, 125 to 123 against the Suns, 128 to 112 against the Blazers. It's actually getting out of control. This one's set a bit higher, but that's because the Jazz play even less defense. This one's gonna look like an all-star game in terms of defense. I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw something like a 275 total. I'm taking the Jazz and Nuggets over 248.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Dallas Mavericks in Portland taking on Portland Trailblazers. Blazers are minus 490 on the money line, and the total is 240.5. I definitely think Portland wins this game, but I don't know if I'm rushing to the window to lay 11 points. It opened as high as 12.5 this morning, and it's moved all the way down to 10.5 on minimal injury news. The Mavs are of course banged up, but they do have Najee Marshall and Cooper Flagg going. For me, what really stands out is the fact that Portland handles business against all of the bottom teams in the league. In their last 10, they beat the Bucks, Nets twice, Pacers twice, and Jazz all by this spread. They're currently the 9th seed in the West, so it makes sense that they're locking in the winnable spots. More of a lean, but I'll lean to the Blazers laying the 10.5 as my next selection of the evening. Up next, we have the Washington Wizards in Golden State taking on Golden State Warriors. Warriors are minus 1,000 on the money line, and the total is 233. Obviously, the Warriors want to win this game in terms of standings, but there's no way I'm laying 14 points, even if it is against the Wizards. In their last 2 games, they struggled to beat the Nets and the Mavs. I'd lean to the Wizards in terms of a side, but rather than taking a side, I'm looking at a prop. He's kind of the main guy in this current rotation. I'm taking Bub Carrington to go over 10.5 points. He's getting up about 10 shots a game, and he's got the best matchup with Podziemski guarding him. He's also gone over this line in 4 of his last 5 games. This is more like a tryout to see who gets to play with Trae Young next year. I see Bub stepping up. I'm gonna lock it in as my next selection of the evening. In our next matchup, we have the Brooklyn Nets in Los Angeles taking on Los Angeles Lakers. Lakers are minus 1,800 on the money line, and the total is 222.5. At full strength, I might be able to lay 20 points with the Lakers, but they come into this one slightly banged up. Marcus Smart is ruled out, then Rui Hachimura and Luka are both listed as questionable. Luka's dealing with hamstring tightness, so I don't know if you want to push him this close to the playoffs. Even with Luka out, the Lakers will probably win this game, but then we get back to the 16-point spread. They have been dominant as home favorites, but I can't blindly lay these type of spreads if there's potential Luka might not play. I'm taking the Nets plus the 16.5 as my last and final selection. And that's going to conclude today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Tough little stretch over the last few days, but all it takes is one. I'm now 96 and 98 on every game played in March. Let's get right back in that win column tonight. I appreciate all of the support so much. I do this every day for free, so please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It's your boy, Yo! And until the next one, I'ma catch y'all. Peace.